Welcome back to Sub2Investor. In this episode, we'll be analyzing a potential Subject2 deal brought to me by somebody in our community. I'm going to call this deal or no deal. If you happen to purchase my deal evaluator, which is a software essentially that I've created to analyze Subject2 and seller financing deals, especially with a view to selling them with seller financing. And if there's a deal that you would like to go over, and if I can find time in my schedule, we can hop on a Zoom call and analyze a potential deal. That's exactly what happened with this individual. So what you're going to be watching is a conversation between me and this individual talking about a potential Subject2 deal. Is it a deal? Is it not a deal? How do I analyze and think about the numbers on this particular Sub2 deal? I hope you enjoy this episode. If you haven't checked out the deal evaluator, there's a link in the description below. There's a lot to learn from in this analysis, so I hope you enjoy. Oh, and sorry for the bad audio quality. Please bear with me in this video. My microphone apparently wasn't working, but it will be better in future videos, I promise. Cheers. Okay, I got on realtor.com here.
Yes.
Cool. So it says it's pending, which might mean, another wholesaler might have gotten it under contract. But hey, let's analyze it anyways. Maybe the deal will fall apart. It's good practice.
Yes. Especially when I want to see how much the cost of money will be using the calculator.
Real quick here. So pending it, they're asking 220 about, and then I always like to look at the real estimate down here on realtor.com because it has 3 different data providers and their estimated value of the house, which is all very similar. So like 220 seems to be a good place to throw that ARV.
Yes.
If you don't have comps or like MLS access to that local market, I always try and get like 5 different data points. Realtor.com gives me 3 right here. I might go to Zillow to get a 4th, and then I might use like PropStream to get a 5th. And I can kind of get a sense of that ARV just from those 5 data points.
Now this number right there, the fair market value, that one always confuses me because I want to know. I don't know what it really means. What it's really asking me.
It's really just asking, what is the house worth today? Like just as is, without doing any of the repairs to get it up to the ARV. I have 2 different, like if it's seller financing, then you're actually just going to put the purchase price here. But if it's Sub2, you're going to put the fair market value in this field. Look this house probably has no equity. How long has it been on the market for? It's been on the market for 50 days. So that means it's priced high. It's probably worth a little less than 220 is my guess. Until you would really just have to do a thorough comp analysis to look at for like properties and what they sold for to get the fair market value. But it doesn't really matter too much for the way that we buy and sell. So I would put just like 215 here.
Okay.
Total current loan balances. I see an outstanding principal balance of 2002, 427. This is assuming there's no like second mortgages, HELOCs, things of that nature, partial claims. Assuming we just got one loan, and a title search is going to reveal whether there's other liens against the property. But assuming we just got this one loan, then this is the total current loan balances. So next we go to like our upfront and back end cash expenses in these columns right here.
Let's pretend we're doing it on the MLS.
Great. So in this scenario, cash to seller, what do you want to put here?
We'll give a 5,000.
Yeah, that's probably pretty typical, especially for a house about at this price point with no equity. And that might even be a little generous, honestly. But do you want to say that there's no wholesaler on this deal, that we're direct to agent?
Direct to agent, yes.
So then 3% on a sales price that's going to be around 200 is going to be like $6,000. So we could just put $6,000 in there.
Okay.
Closing costs, Texas deal, $4,500. If we're going to sell it on seller financing, we're not going to put any repairs into it. So we'll leave that at 0.
Right.
And then with your lending costs,
is 1.75% interest only payments for up to 6 months. In 6 months, they're giving you money for.
Yeah. If we assume that we're going to borrow money for 6 months at 1.75 a month, then we'll go off of that.
Yeah.
But what this box right here is like, is there any origination fees that you got to pay up front for that loan?
Oh, I don't think so. I think they put it on the back end, the document fee and the other fee that they have, which is going to be come $2,000. It's on the back end.
Perfect. So if there's so we got $2,000 of like origination paperwork fees already, right?
Yes.
So that's back end. If there was like an origination fee you had to pay up front, then you'd put it in right here. PML costs front end. $2,000. And this is for like the origination fee, like you said on the loan that gets paid when you sell the property within 6 months. So then other back end expenses, we're not going to worry about that right now. While we're talking about hard money though, private money, I do just want to fast forward down to this one right here. Private money loan monthly payment. If you're going to be borrowing, do you know how much you'd be borrowing on this deal? Or should we figure that out like using the calculator?
I'm going to figure it out using the calculator because I want all my total cash front end requirement. Yeah. That's what I want to borrow.
Yeah, let's finish out the calculator before we get to that.
Okay.
All right, so let's get to the loan. Are there any loan arrears? Because you can see right here, if it's Sub2, then if there's any loan arrears, you input the number here. But if it's seller financing, you'll put the down payment.
I'm going to say it's a little bit of arrears. Like you see, I think they said it somewhere. The back payment. Yeah, that.
Okay. I'm going to assume that we got to pay all of this $3,800. And this is from March, so they're probably due for April too, right? So if their monthly payment's $1,880, if I have to catch this thing up, $3,800 plus another $1,800, let's just call it $5,700 in arrears.
Okay.
Now we got to figure out what the origination date of this loan was, so that we can properly get like the amortization schedule on it. So from this mortgage statement. Usually they're not going to put the origination date, but you can tell from the maturity date right here, being August 2053, 30 years prior to that would be 2023.
It's a pretty new house. Yes, it's 2023.
Yeah, so it's a very new loan, and that's why that interest rate's so high, because back last August, rates were still at 7 point whatever. So basically, then I know that this loan was originated August 2023. So right here, I'm just going to put 8/1/2023. Mm-hmm. I know that the outstanding balance probably hasn't gone down much, if at all. So that loan probably began around like $2,000 and $3,000 is my guess.
Yes.
Interest rate was 7.250.
Yes.
And then, I might go to PropStream or Realtor.com to get the taxes.
I think the taxes was $4,500 for the year for PropStream.
Cool. I'll just go off of that.
And the insurance I just made up, I said it was $2,000 for the year.
That's probably pretty fair. Mm-hmm. So let's see if we get close to that. PITI on the mortgage statement was $1,880. So we're very close. So, it could be that the insurance policy was a little less, and now we're at $1,884. What really matters is the P&I. The P&I is really how we're going to calculate the cash flow when we sell it on seller financing. So the tax and insurance are not very important unless you're holding it as a rental of some kind, long-term, short-term, midterm, whatever. But the P&I here is really what the most important part of it is. And often on the mortgage statement, we can actually see that the P&I are itemized at 154.51 plus 1,222 for the interest. So the P&I is about 1,376. So we're very close on that P&I. Okay, so look at that. We are within $2 of that P&I. Perfect. So this is good enough for now. We could dial it in to get it exact if we wanted to mess around with the exact loan amount. We could figure it out. So our PITI, we got it right here at $1,884. Mm-hmm. And then this is where I put your monthly private money lending costs, but let's get to that in a second. The equity position is your negative equity, $10K, basically based off of the fair market value minus the loan value minus your total front end expenses and back end expenses is how it calculates your equity position. So you're slightly negative equity on this deal, which is fine on seller financing. Like a lot of deals still work with negative equity as long as it's not great negative equity, just slight negative equity. But then here's how I would calculate what I need to borrow. And essentially, it has to do with your holding time, right? So 6 months holding time, you could change it to 3 months. But what this is going to do is it's going to take, you need to make an $1,884 monthly payment every single month. And if this house takes you 6 months to sell, which is on the long end of what's typical, but just to be conservative, you want to make sure you borrow enough to cover what you need in that time that you're marketing it to sell. So if you sell it in 2 months, great, you save yourself money. But if it takes 6 months, you want to make sure that you have the money to pay that mortgage. And so this holding cost spits out 6 months worth of payment of mortgage payments. Your total front end cash requirements, $32,508, and that's what you need to pay these holding costs and pay these upfront costs up here.
Yes.
See what I'm saying? You would say, hey, I need to borrow, let's just call it $33,000. Okay.
Yes.
So if you're going to borrow $33,000, just to round up, then you're going to be paying what is it per month?
1.75 per month.
1.75. So to get that, I'm just going to multiply by 0.0175. That's $577 a month.
Yes.
So what that's going to do, let's put $577.50. And now what that's going to do, it's going to lump that into your holding costs. So now your holding costs account for 6 months of paying $577 a month, if that makes sense.
So yes. Okay. So I put the monthly payment in. I know okay.
Right. You got to make the loan payment each month and the $577 each month.
Yes.
So that's how this one gets. Now, if you want to go over to the seller financing tab real quick?
Yeah. Let's see let's see if it's a deal.
Okay.
I don't think so.
We'll see. So the second tab, by the way, gives you the amortization table of that loan that you're taking subject to. So if you wanted to see what the payoff was at any given month, you could. This third tab is the seller financing exit.
How much is it? Can I bump it up like 15%? The markup, like what's a good, like?
You can, but if you ever needed to liquidate the note, your note buyer isn't going to look at the value of what you sold it to your end buyer for. They're going to look at the actual value of the property. So you certainly can mark it up like that much. So if you wanted to try for 15% up market value, that's fine. Just keep in mind, like if you are going to use a realtor to find your end buyer, they might give you a hard time about it. That doesn't mean that you can't ask for it.
Oh, okay.
You don't want to go super crazy on that because you want to set your buyer up to succeed, and if you put their payoff so high and they want to go refinance and their lender's like, dude, this property is not even worth as much as what you owe, you're really kind of setting them up to fail. So I would caution against jacking up a price like too much to an end buyer.
So how much? 10% at least?
I'd say between 5 and 10 is typical.
Okay.
If you want to leave it at 5 to be conservative, you can ask for 10, but model it at 5.
Okay. Yes.
Down payment is usually stick to 10%, especially in these lower price points, like a $200,000 house. You get 10%, but once you're getting up to $400,000 house, that's where maybe model it at like 8% because that's a lot more money down for somebody. But you should be able to get 10 at this price point.
Okay.
And then let's assume, maybe it's June 1st. Doesn't really matter at this point what date you put in here, but 9.5%, I'd say is a pretty good place to model it at. Like maybe you'll get 11 or 10 for seller financing. They have this loan amount to you, 203, and their principal and interest is 1708. Their total payment is 2208. And I'll jump down to the cash flow right here is $323. So your cash flow is $323. Now, is that worth it to you? Let's take a look at the rest of the numbers here. You had $21K front-end expenses, your holding costs here, your back-end expenses, which means you're actually going to be negative $15,000 in the deal. So you're going to have to pay off your private money lender, and you're still going to be in the deal $15,000 after your down payment.
Not a deal for me then. I don't
Yeah,
want that
so
deal.
I don't want the deal, but somebody might want the deal because look at this. Your cash on cash return is 25%. That's a good cash on cash return for somebody. If you're coming from the world of rental properties where you're typically looking at like a 10, 11, 12% cap rate, that number looks good.
Okay.
But for me personally, you would have to bring a equity, like a cash flow partner in or an equity partner in, $15,000 so that I could be net zero in. But then there's not enough cash flow to spread between me and the equity partner. There's only $323 a month. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So this deal, is not viable on my model.
No.
Yeah. But somebody might want it. I probably wouldn't get it under contract. I might get like an option. Like if the seller was ready to go, they were super desperate, they needed a solution, I might shop it like on an option contract just to say, let me see if I can get a landlord. Because, the other thing to keep in mind is what are the monthly rents, right? If the monthly rents are close to what this PITI is, well, then a landlord might be able to cash flow on this property. Like on a rental property, $300 a month of cash flow, it's not great, but still, like you get to depreciate the property, you get future appreciation. So there might be some landlord willing to dump. Well, they'll have to pay you a wholesale fee, so it'll be more than $15K, $25K into a deal. I don't know. This is an iffy one, probably a no for me.
No for me. No for me.
Would you find an end buyer for this kind of property relatively quickly? I think you probably could if you shopped it, but it's not like the best deal out there for sure.
Well, thank you. I get it now. I just have to calculate it and put it in that monthly payment part.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
I get it.
100%.
I'm gonna practice them again, and then I'm gonna start doing what I'm gonna start calling.
Awesome, man. Yeah, get some contracts and
I'll let you know. Thank you so much for really giving me this time. I was so excited. Like I'm all day I'm thinking about. I was like, so excited. I'm watching a second. And I say,
Hey, no, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for purchasing the deal evaluator. I'm glad I could give you the tutorial. And, I take the time because it's helping you, but maybe we'll do deals together in the future. So
I hope so. I would love to. I would be honored if I could give you at least one deal, find something for you that you can use.
Well, hey, best of luck in this journey ahead of you, man.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, cheers. Blessings. Later.